Paul.
Just a few points. First of all, can we talk about prison sentences? When I sit as a magistrate in Herefordshire, if you have a person who completely refuses outright on a number of occasions to undertake community sentences, what would you advocate other than a short prison sentence? Because I think as magistrates, we're completely fed up with this continued commentary about short prison sentences don't work. We should be putting the victim at the heart of decision-making, not the offender. And I think we are fed up with the continual complaints. That's the first thing I'd like you to answer. Secondly, as this is the most radical change in policing and accountability for, well, certainly at this century, and probably last century as well, can you please ask a question or put a question down in the House of Commons requesting that whatever the model of policing is put forward, that this is risk assessed by Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary, and there's a full business plan and all that, so it actually is inspected beforehand and the public are actually told what the results of that report is. And secondly, can you also put a question down to the Home Secretary to ensure that throughout this period of transition that there is full support and funding for national representation throughout the period, and this includes the APA and ACPO, because I'm very concerned indeed that what we're hearing from the Home Office is that there's no funds available, you've got to sort it out, at a time when representation is needed at national level in all sorts of areas, including leadership. There's all sorts of key issues coming about, that the answer is there's no funding available, and the tripartite, which is Home Office, APA and ACPO, if we're not careful, there'll be one leg of the stool available and not three. And it's vital you get those, all those agencies working together. Thank you.
Okay. Just to respond to those, first of all, I should make clear, and Kenneth Clarke has made clear at every opportunity, that there is no suggestion from the coalition government that there will be no short-term prison sentences. What there is a suggestion that some of the people who are currently receiving short-term prison sentences would be better placed with community sentences with better sort of enforcement and control of those sentences. So there's no proposal that that all short-term prison sentences will go. And I agree the victim should be at the heart of the decision-making process, but I think also that victims and the wider public will want to know that whatever solutions are put forward from a sentencing point of view, that they are the most effective at tackling reoffending, because if you reduce reoffending, then that's of benefit to everybody, including any future victims. So I think that is something we are right to pursue. In relation to risk assessing these proposals, that is a very good point, and I'm very happy to table a parliamentary question to that effect. And I understand the concerns there are around the transition period, yes, I'm happy to raise that issue as well the next time I meet with the police minister to see what's going to be put in place to ensure that that national link is not lost.
Simon?
Sam Afsal, Lancashire Police Authority. I've got two questions. Just one on the civil liberties. You mentioned a number of areas around DNA database and a number of other issues as well, and freedom of information. I'm just thinking a lot of those obviously are commendable and agree with them in principle, although there could be an issue around bureaucracy in introducing some of these measures. So therefore, if police forces are going to tackle these issues and manage them, there needs to be investment in the technological side of it in order to not increase bureaucracy, paper-based bureaucracy. So that's the first question. Have you considered that around those issues? And the second one is around the PR system in terms of directly elected commissioners. And Ruth Henning referred to how people didn't understand it much, and which I agree with, which will impact on turnouts. But the other issue is, in terms of PR, don't you think there are a couple of vital ingredients missing in relation to introducing it? Because in order for PR to allow minority groups to get through to the top, you need to have 100% ballot, really, and that's what makes it work. That's what makes good PR system work. That's an essential ingredient. And the other issue is PR also works where you can have a coalition, when you can form coalitions. With PCCs, you can't do that. It's one person. So I just wonder if those issues have been considered.
Okay. In relation to extending freedom of information, certainly the proposals that the government are actively considering at the moment are things like ensuring that companies that do a very significant or majority work on behalf of local authorities, for instance, and companies like Network Rail, which in effect, although they're nominally private, receive all their funding from the public sector. It's looking at whether those should be made subject to FOI. At the moment, I'm not aware of any proposals that would impact on the police, but it's possible there may be. But I agree that whatever changes, they do come with a sort of cost attached in terms of bureaucracy. And I'm sure that as proposals come forward, the government will want to take that into account to make sure that we're not, at a time when budgets are being cut, we're not placing an additional burden on local authorities or others to ensure that they meet any new FOI requirements. In relation to turnout and a proportional system for elections, I think that is perhaps the most effective way that we have got of ensuring that there is a decent or there's a greater likelihood of having a more representative set of police commissioners elected. But we do need to maximise turnout. Clearly, I suppose we're not getting off to a very good start in terms of turnout, because the sort of people that we want to be advocating the importance of this are people like you in this room, and clearly at the very least you've got some misgivings about what is being proposed. But as I said earlier in response to I think an earlier question or in my speech, I think that certainly my experience at a grassroots level of politics is that the number one issue that people are concerned about is antisocial behaviour. Often, even if they haven't experienced it themselves, it's just the general concern about crime in their area. And I'm sure that someone who articulates a constructive, high-profile set of policies about how they will address that will ensure that the turnout is reasonable. The turnout in mayoral elections in London are good, higher than for local elections, and I think we can achieve that sort of turnout with these elections.
Okay, well, thank you, Tom, for taking those questions. Colleagues, I've had to look, so we must now proceed to wind up this session, although we've gone a bit above our allotted time.